Somewhere in a forest, a knight in luxurious armor wakes up confused. He remembers falling asleep while playing a video game the night before. He has now woken up looking like his character from the game. Decided to test out his abilities, he realizes he can perform all the attacks and magic spells his game character could. Only they're even more powerful now. He can even use some skills he couldn't use in the game. Getting hungry, he notices he has no money or food and decides to travel to a town using a short-range teleportation spell. Seeing his reflection in a river, he realizes he looks like a skeleton because he chose the skeleton avatar while playing the game. Because every human would think he's a monster, he decides to hide his face at all times and draw as little attention to himself as possible. Arriving at a town called Luviert, he walks around, realizing he needs to find a job. Entering a back alley, he overhears a pink-haired elf woman arguing with someone. Getting excited over seeing a real elf, he tries to approach her but loses her in the crowd. Entering a mercenary guild, the knight asks the guild master for a mercenary license. In order to avoid suspicion, the knight starts acting the way he looks like a noble paladin and convinces the guild master he needs the license despite looking rich. To get the license, he needs to hunt 3 creatures, bandits, beasts or monsters. Later, in a forest somewhere, the knight defeats 2 boars when an orc attacks him. Getting excited seeing his first orc, the knight cuts him in half with only 1 slash of his sword. Later, while traveling back to town, the knight comes across a band of robbers who attacked a coach. Having killed all the guards, the bandits prepare to attack the 2 women who are left. Hidden in the bushes, the knight is reluctant to help, unsure if he can take on so many people at once. Finally, he makes his mind up and appears amid the bandits, killing 3 of them in 1 slash. The rest try running away, but with a flying sword slash, the knight defeats them too. Grateful for saving them, the women introduce themselves as Lauren, a royal from the Luviert family, and her attendant Rita. When the 2 of them aren't looking, the knight takes the bandits' loot. While they're going back together, the knight introduces himself as Ark. Even though he doesn't tell anyone, he remembers the backstory for his game character. His character was a cursed knight who is traveling across the land to find a way to cure himself. Back in town, Ark gets his mercenary license, showing the guild master the boars and orc he killed. Happily settling into a room in an inn, Ark orders a whole feast for himself and enjoys it wholeheartedly. He concludes that this isn't just a game but real life and looks forward to his future quest, laughing loudly. One day, Ark responds to a request to help a girl pick some medicinal herbs. Because he doesn't want to draw too much attention to him, he decided to only take low-profile jobs like that. Entering a peaceful village, he meets the girl called Marka. At first, she is afraid by Ark's formidable appearance, but quickly warms up to him. While they're walking through the forest, Marka tells Ark that her mother is working hard every day to pick medicinal herbs, and now she wants to help her by doing it herself. While they're traveling, Ark senses a creature watching them, but it turns out it's just a small green fox with many tails. Noticing it's hurt, Ark heals it with a spell. Fully recovered, the fox doesn't want to leave Ark and he takes it with him, naming it Ponta. Reaching a clearing, Ark and Marka find the plant they were looking for. Suddenly, a gigantic dragon-like monster appears behind Marka. Before it can attack her, Ark rescues her and confronts the monster. Dodging its poisonous breath, Ark realizes that he's fighting a giant basilisk, a very dangerous, high-level monster. The basilisk attacks him, but Ark manages to stand his ground against it, dodging and blocking its sharp claws and long tongue. Continuing to block the basilisk's attacks, Ark summons a gigantic sword of light underneath it and kills it in 1 hit, surprised at his own power. After the fight, Ark asks Marka not to tell the villagers he killed the basilisk so he doesn't stand out. He also notices a strange ring around the basilisk's leg, but it disappears before he can examine it. When they return to the village, Marka reunites with her mother, who was worried but is glad nothing happened to her daughter. At sunset, Ark and Marka say their farewells and Marka's little sister gives Ark a flower crown. That night somewhere else, a squad of soldiers fights and barely manages to defeat another giant basilisk. They have found the corpse of the basilisk Ark killed and are impressed when they notice that it has been killed in 1 hit. Back at the inn, Ark and Ponto enjoys their dinner, thinking about Marka's gratitude. Ark decides to take more challenging quests in the future and help more people. One night, Ark is chasing down a few bandits in a cave. Some time has passed and Ark has gotten used to doing quests. After defeating the bandits, he finds chests full of gold and 2 empty cages. In a royal palace, an attendant is reporting to a short fat man called Triton, the lord of the town of Dinto. It turns out Triton sent the bandits to assassinate Lauren and the basilisk who attacked the area around Luviert. And now he's outraged because both his plans has failed. He was secretly employed by a man called Dakares, one of the princes of the Rodden Kingdom. Dakares wants to take over Lubeard because it is strategically important for attacking the Western Kingdoms. Triton is also managing an illegal elf slave trade, and his son Odolan is currently escorting the slaves. Back at the cave, Ark is ambushed by a hooded woman. She attacks fiercely, but he manages to fend against her. As her hood falls down, he recognizes she is the pink-haired elf he saw in town in the past. The elf is convinced that Ark is one of the bandits who kidnapped the elven children she came to rescue. However, when she sees Ponta, she stops attacking. She recognizes Ponta as a spirit creature, and those creatures would never accompany a bad person. Realizing Ark isn't a bandit, she apologizes to him and tells him she came here to save the elves that were kidnapped and sold into slavery. Ark tells her he saw empty cages in the cave and proposes to help her find the elves, but she refuses, saying it's an issue that the elves have to deal with themselves. Before Ark can say anything else, she leaves. Later at the inn, Ark decides to try finding the pink-haired elf again since she is the first elf he has ever met. The next day, Ark teleports around the forest trying to find the elf woman. He explores the elf forest when Ponta hears something. Nearby, a group of elf hunters captures a runaway elf slave. They take her back to their camp where there are 3 more elves in a cage. Odolan, who is Triton's son, cruelly threatens the runaway elf. Ark sees all this hidden in the bushes, but before he can do anything, the pink-haired elf appears and attacks the elf hunters. Several hunters attack the pink-haired elf, but she defeats them all with no issues. Suddenly, Odolan takes the 4 captured elves as hostages, telling the pink-haired elf to stop attacking. Looking like she is in trouble, Ark comes out of the bushes and knocks Odolan out, allowing the pink-haired elf to finish the fight. Afterwards, they notice the captured elves have mana-eating collars that drain their magic power. The pink-haired elf can't remove them, but Ark undoes them with no problem and heals all of the elves' injuries. A couple of hooded elves arrive and recover the captured elves, who thanked Ark before leaving. The pink-haired elf introduces herself as Aryan and tells Ark she has never met a keen and powerful human like him. Convinced she can trust him, Aryan wants to hire Ark as a mercenary, and he accepts. The 2 of them travel to the town of Dinto, where they meet with Danka, one of Aryan's elven comrades. Sitting down in an inn, Danka tells them he has found out the location of a building in Dinto where more kidnapped elves were taken. They decide to wait until late at night to storm the building and rescue them. At night, Ark together with Danka and Aryan depart, not noticing the ninjas following them. Ark teleports the 3 of them to the roof of the building, and they sneak inside through a window. Going deeper, they are surprised to see corpses in some of the rooms. All of them are killed in the same way. Splitting up, each of them searches another part of the building. Entering one of the rooms and finding more corpses, Ark is attacked by the ninja who is following him before. He notices that the ninja is a woman with animal ears and a tail. The ninja stops attacking after noticing Ark isn't one of the bandits and apologizes to him. Assuming Ark is here to save the elves, she tells him most of them are imprisoned underground while 2 are held captive in the Lord's palace. She gives Ark a scroll and leaves through the window, mysteriously telling him they will meet again. Ark opens the scroll and finds a contract for purchasing elf slaves. Rejoining Aryan and Danka, the 3 of them notice the contract mentions the Lord of Dinto. While they are talking, a bunch of thugs enter and attack them. Aryan sets his sword on fire with a spell and burns them, defeating them easily. Finally reaching the underground dungeon, Ark and the others free the imprisoned elves. Ark teleports everyone outside of town. While Danka stays with the rescued elves, Aryan and Ark go to the Lord's palace. They noisily break in and alert the guards, but manage to hide in time. They destroy a wall and barge into the Lord's chamber, where they see Triton together with Odolan and the 2 kidnapped elves. Triton gets angry, but Aryan kicks him in the crotch, stopping him. While chasing after a terrified Odolan, Ark accidentally finds a hidden room. While the 2 kidnapped elves beat up Triton, a group of guards enters the room. Aryan defeats them with her flaming sword and tells the 2 elves to go meet with Danka. Ark finds that the hidden room is full of gold, which he decides to take with him. Having teleported outside, Aryan thanks Ark and pays him for his mercenary work. Since Ark has no other quest to do right now, Aryan invites him to come with her to the elf lands and keep helping her rescue elves kidnapped by other humans. Ark gets excited but doesn't show it and agrees to go with her. In order to get permission to enter the elf lands, he will have to meet with an elf elder. Ark says he can never remove his helmet, but Aryan promises she won't attack him if he shows her his face. Ark removes his helmet and Aryan is shocked by his skeletal appearance. Instead of telling her the truth about getting transported to this world, he tells her he woke up one day in these lands looking like this. She recognizes he isn't actually an undead skeleton and says she trusts him, promising to keep his true appearance a secret. They shake hands, agreeing to continue working together. Some days later, in Olev, the capital of Roden Kingdom, the king called Karlon talks to his two sons and daughter. They are discussing the incident at Lord Triton's palace. Not knowing the details, Sect, the first prince, claims the elves are responsible for the incident. The Lord of Dinto was previously accused of violating the treaty between the humans and the elves by selling elves into slavery. Dakers, the second prince, angrily disagrees, saying Sect shouldn't accuse nobility just because of rumors. The king considers an investigation should be conducted. Yuri Arna says that if the rumors about Triton are true, the elves could decide to break their trade arrangements with Limbald, the only domain that trade with them. If someone from Dinto causes the elves to stop trading magical equipment and runestones to the humans, Roden Kingdom would be held responsible, and the tension between countries would rise. The king orders Yuri Arna to go to Limbald and make arrangements to talk with the elves. Traveling towards the elf lands through the forest, Aryan and Ark reached a river where they set up a camp and spend the night. The next day, back at Olev, Yuri Arna talks to her attendant Ferna. She is concerned knowing Dakers is involved in the elf trade, and Sect knows it too. Sect wants to eliminate Dakers so that he or Yuri Arna can succeed the throne. Traveling through the forest, Ark and Aryan reached a massive gate surrounded by palisades, which leads to the elf settlement of Lalatoya. They approach a house inside a gigantic tree, and the elder, a surprisingly young man called Dylan, greets them together with his wife, called Glenys. To Ark's surprise, the elder and his wife turn out to be Aryan's parents. Entering the house, they talk over tea and dinner. Later, Aryan told her parents all about Ark's real appearance, so he takes off his helmet and they all eat together peacefully. The next morning, Ark wakes up alone with Glenys, since Aryan and her father left to go to the meeting of the Elven Elders in the Elven city of Maple. Aryan and Dylan enter a vast hall where the meeting is held. Meanwhile, Glenys is showing Ark around the Lalatoya village until she suddenly asks Ark if he would like to spar with her. At the Elders' meeting, the elves are discussing that the humans have broken their agreement by conducting a slave trade. They conclude that they won't apologize to the humans for Aryan's attack on Triton's castle on Dinto. Trying to avoid war with the humans, they will simply continue to liberate the enslaved elves while they wait for the King of Roden's reaction. Back at Lalatoya, Glenys wants to test Ark's strength so she can be sure Aryan can rely on him. Ark agrees with her proposal and they start fighting. Glenys immediately gets serious and attacks Ark with incredible speed, quickly making him fall to the ground. Telling him he is an amateur, she starts teaching him how to fight with a sword. As they are walking back from the meeting, Dylan tells Aryan her sister Even is going to get married next year. Aryan is surprised, having thought that her sister only cares about fighting. Suddenly, Even herself appears and runs towards Aryan, hugging her. Even tells her it's true that she's getting married and asks Aryan if she has someone she likes. Aryan hesitatingly denies it and Even says she won't let her marry anyone weaker than her. In Lalatoya, Ark is fighting against Glenys, getting better, but still losing. After Dylan and Aryan return, everyone gathers at their house. Dylan tells Ark and Aryan the elders need them to continue rescuing the kidnapped elves and investigate the people involved in the slave trade. In exchange for his services, Dylan tells Ark about a spring that can break any curse. The spring is near a giant tree called Lord Crown, which is a type of tree that grows where a dragon lord resides. Aryan says she could get permission for Ark to access the spring without being endangered. Even though his curse was something he made up, he wonders if he might really be cursed. Alone in bed, Ark tries casting a curse-breaking spell on his arm and manages to turn it back into a regular human's arm for a few moments. He concludes he really is affected by some kind of curse, even if he can't break it by himself. The following day, Ark and Aryan head out towards Olev in order to look for the people mentioned in the slave trade contract. Somewhere else, Yuri Arna enters a coach together with Ferna preparing to depart for Limbald. In a building in the distance, someone is watching them. Traveling through the forest, Aryan and Ark got attacked by a pack of wolves. They're haunted beasts who are able to create illusions. Using different spells, Aryan manages to break all the illusions and kill some of the wolves. Ark sees the pack's leader in the distance and tries attacking him, but the wolf dodges. Ark sees a strange black ring around the wolf's leg, similar to the one he saw around the giant basilisk leg. Surprising the wolf with a fire spell, he cuts off the ring, after which the pack of wolves leave him alone. In that same forest, Yuri Arna is traveling towards Limbald. Suddenly, her coach starts shaking violently. A moment later, someone enters and kills both Yuri Arna and Ferna with a sword. It turns out some of the soldiers guarding Yuri Arna conspired with a band of mysterious hooded people to kill her. The leader of the hooded people receives Yuri Arna's necklace as a reward. Suddenly, Ark appears. While the hooded figures attack him with spells, he inspects Yuri Arna and Ferna's corpses. Suddenly, the same pack of hunted wolves from before attack the hooded figures, helping Ark, who defeats most of the attackers. But some of them get away. Returning to Yuri Arna's body. He casts a regenerative spell on her and manages to revive her. He proceeds to revive the rest of the murdered people too, and runs off before they notice him. Upon waking up, Yuri Arna starts believing she has received God's blessing to continue her journey to Limbold. Later, Ark and Aryan finally entered the town of Olev. Walking through a shopping district, Ark sees a familiar face, the ninja girl he met before. Her name is Chium, and she belongs to the race of beast people. Ark introduces her to Aryan, and they settle down at an inn. Getting serious, she asks Ark and Aryan to help her rescue her comrades who were kidnapped by humans. In exchange, she will give them more information about the people listed on the slave trade contract. Inspired by Chium's determination, Aryan and Ark agree to help her. Somewhere else in town, Dackers is angry. He found out Yuri Arna has survived the attack on her carriage and wants to stop her from negotiating with the elves. It is revealed he is the one who was using black rings to control monsters for his evil purposes. Both the elves and the beast people have recently been more active fighting against the slave trade, undermining Dackers' business. Since Dackers is afraid for his life, his attendant Cetrion advises him to go to a safe house. As Dackers leaves, we see Cetrion is holding Yuri Arna's necklace, implying he's working for someone else. After a while, Ark, Aryan, and Chium arrive at Etzad Market, the largest slave market in Olev. Since Etzad is an important location for the entire slave business, she expects reinforcements to appear as soon as they attack it. The ninjas intend to attack 4 other slave markets at the same time, so Chium wants Aryan and Ark to cause a commotion on Etzad and draw attention to them. With a diversion like that, the slaves from the other markets will be able to escape. Ark puts on the scary mask he bought in town so he can stand out even more while he causes the diversion. Chium even brings a large, scary beast man called Goemon with her, and they start the operation. Ark and Goemon storm the front gate, alerting all the guards and fighting them. However, using powerful rock-based magic, they overdo it, destroying a large number of the buildings in the market. While most of the guards are dealing with Ark and Goemon, Aryan and Chium manage to sneak into the building from the back. Inside the building, some guards notice them. Aryan fights them using her flaming sword, and Chium uses her water-based ninjutsu techniques. Reaching an underground dungeon, they free some of the imprisoned slaves, telling them to free the others and fight if they are able to. As more guards attack, Aryan stops them while she continues freeing the slaves. Ark and Goemon rise up from the ruins they cause, regrouping with Chium and Aryan. Having freed all the slaves in one of the buildings, they target the building at the back next. While Goemon stands guard, the others enter the building, fights all the guards on the way, and finally reaching an underground dungeon. They release all of the kidnapped beast people. Exiting the dungeon, they lead all the slaves to one place and teleport them outside of Etzad. While Aryan and Chium lead the beast people to safety, Ark returns to Etzad joining Goemon. Together, they defeat the rest of the guards with overwhelming force. At a safe house, Dackers is outraged because of what happened to his slave market. As he turns to leave the room, Cetrion stabs him with a sword, killing him. Sect enters the room, putting Yuri Arna's necklace next to Dackers' body and saying they will announce that Yuri Arna was killed in a scheme arranged by Dackers. He exclaims, the throne of Roden Kingdom is now his. Sometime later, Yuri Arna has arrived at Limbold, a trading town. She meets with her sister, Serena, who is married to the Duke of Limbold. When Serena tells her she thought she was killed by Dackers, Yuri Arna concludes Sect is behind it. He also made everyone think Dackers himself has been killed because he caused a commotion in Olev. Yuri Arna asks her sister to keep the fact that she's alive hidden so she can meet with the elves in secret. Before returning to her hidden ninja village, Chium tells Aryan and Ark that she found out a number of enslaved elves were taken to the Empire of Rivlon. After parting with Chium, Ark and Aryan decides to head there. In the Imperial Palace in Rivlon, the Emperor Domitianus, a red-haired man in a military uniform, finds out Dackers has been killed by Sect and that the Princess Yuri Arna is dead. It turns out Domitianus was backing Dackers, and he was the one who gave him the black rings he used to control monsters. Sometime later, traveling through a rocky desert, Ark and Aryan see a group of wyverns flying in the sky. Aryan's messenger bird is afraid to fly because of the wyverns, so Ark cast a lightning spell chasing all the wyverns away, but accidentally shocking his friends too. At sunset, Ark and Aryan reach a town and stay at an inn. Aryan is concerned because capturing elves isn't illegal in the Rivlon Empire, making it dangerous for her to go there. A green-haired elf wearing glasses approaches them, introduces himself as Karsai. Even though he is an elf, everyone at the inn is friendly to him. He explains that he has been living in this human town for 10 years already and thinks elves and humans can coexist. Aryan disagrees, but realizes she's traveling with a human herself. Karsai says he is studying the biology of monsters and noticing Ark and Aryan are strong, asks to hire them to capture a monster for him. When he offers them a map of the Rivlon Empire as a reward, They take the job. The next morning, Ark and Aryan depart from the inn and meet with Karsai and his friend. Taking two horse-drawn carts, they travel into the desert. Karsai wants to capture a sandworm so he can learn more about it, since sandworms have been killing the townspeople recently. Suddenly, Aryan notices the car Karsai's friend was driving has disappeared and a gigantic sandworm emerges from the ground. Aryan spots the crashed cart and attacks the worm with her flaming sword, but it doesn't harm him. Before the worm can attack Aryan, Ark stops it with one arm. While Aryan saves Karsai's friend, Ark grabs the worm and manages to throw it onto the ground. As he defeats it, we see a black ring disappear from the worm's body. Later, they bring the worm's body to the town and Karsai gives Ark and Aryan the map of Rivlan Empire. Continuing their travels, Ark and Aryan reach the town of Kasek in the Rivlan Empire. This is the town where Chiom said the kidnapped elves were brought. Ark learns about strange cries being heard from a fortress in the east and monsters appearing on the edges of the town. Aryan has heard about a fortress where the elves were brought 4 months ago. Together with Ark, she infiltrates the fortress and manages to enter the building where the elves are supposedly hidden. Defeating some guards and entering a gate, they find empty prison cells. Discovering a massive underground chamber, they smell blood around them. Suddenly, a man with a face tattoo called Fumba appears. For no reason, Aryan attacks Ark, who is surprised but realizes Fumba somehow brainwashed her to attack him. He tries casting curse-breaking spells on her, but they don't work. At the same time, Aryan is seeing an illusion where she is sparring with her sister Even in the forest. Thinking she is fighting with Even, she is unconsciously attacking Ark in real life. Blocking her attacks, Ark notices there is a black imp hiding in her hood, ordering Ponta to take it out. He kills the imp with a fire spell, breaking the illusion and making Aryan faint. Fumba arrogantly approaches Ark, telling him that he is a sorcerer who can control monsters and call in a huge white tiger behind him. Ark asks Fumba where the kidnapped elves are and Fumba tells him they have all died having been used in the Empire's magic experiments. He also says he has personally tortured and killed some of them, laughing about it. Enraged, Ark cuts off the tiger's head in one slash. Fumba calls forth several gigantic monsters, but Ark easily kills them one by one. As monsters keep emerging, Ark continues killing them. When an orc appears behind the unconscious Aryan, Chiom suddenly appears and kills the orc with a water spell. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking. Fumba starts laughing, saying his strongest monster has awoken, inviting Ark and the others outside to challenge it. Fumba leaves the lair. Chiomi and Ark, who's carrying Aryan, teleported outside the lair, seeing a gigantic hydra controlled by 5 black rings. The hydra fires a powerful blast of water to Ark and the others, seemingly killing them. Fumba becomes crazed with power, using the hydra to get revenge on everyone who has ever looked down on him and letting it advance towards the town. Ark and the others emerge from the rubble, revealing Ark has saved them with a shield spell. Aryan heard what Fumba said about the elves and is incredibly angry. Ark wants to stop the hydra from attacking the town, so Aryan and Chiom go after Fumba while he deals with the monster. As the hydra is approaching the city, Ark attacks it from the ground with the flying sword slash. Dodging the hydra's attacks, he attacks it using different skills, summoning a gigantic sword from the ground. He seemingly finishes it off by cutting off 3 of its heads. Even though the hydra regenerates all 5 of its heads, Ark doesn't lose hope. He summons Ifrit, a gigantic horned fire demon. Somewhere else, Aryan and Chiom finds Fumba. He calls a flock of imps, but Aryan cuts them all down before they can reach her. While Fumba tries calling another monster, Chiom cuts him with her throwing knives, ruining the markings on his back. She realized those curse markings are allowing him to control monsters, so now he can't do it anymore. The now helpless Fumba tries apologizing to Aryan, but she doesn't listen to him and burns him to a crisp with a burst of blue flame. Somewhere else, Ifrit brutally beats the hydra, not giving it a chance to counterattack. The hydra tries running away, but Ark grabs its tail and throws it in the air. Once it is in the air, Ifrit fires a huge burst of flame at it, destroying the hydra completely. Having defeated the villain's Ark, Aryan and Chiom regroup once again. When Aryan receives a message from Danka, he tells her Yuri Arna has met with Lord Frankish, one of the elven elders. She promised in the kingdom of Roden will help look for the kidnapped elves to atone for their crimes. She also proposes that the elven kingdom supports her becoming the next queen because Sect has the backing of the Empire of Rivlan, where slavery is legal. In exchange, if Rivlan invades elvish territory, the Roden kingdom will help defend their lands. Ark casually removes his helmet, scaring Chiom with his real face. He asked if he could visit her ninja village sometime, and she agrees to show him around one day. Even though Ark still doesn't know how or why he was transported to another world, he decides to simply continue his journey to enjoy his adventures for a little longer.